Disney has pissed in our faces for 4 years straight with the latest phase of the MCU, and they've expected us to think it's sweet by now. And yes, this is a fun amusement park ride that knows how to exaggerate its wildest properties. However, it is not the savior of the MCU. Two things I want to drop immediately to put your mind at ease. One, Disney did not butcher Wolverine in this movie. In fact, his most identifiable masculine traits were boosted tenfold. Two, this movie is easily the most violent, brutal Marvel film to date. Everyone, to be clear, I am not going to be spoiling Deadpool and Wolverine right now, but later towards the end of the video, we're going to have some fun and talk turkey. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, don't worry, I'll let you know when I'm dropping the spoilers ahead of time. Before I share my thoughts, please consider liking my video and subscribing to my channel. This is an easy way to show your support, and I would very much so appreciate it.
Well, that's a step in the right direction.
I hate to admit this, but I left the theater disappointed to a degree. The film is majorly driven by its awe-striking action scenes, never-ending Deadpool quips, non-stop cameos, and hyper-dramatized slow-motion setups for cool character poses. I would say that the majority of these accents were implemented well, however, it served to overstimulate the senses past its ability to exhibit the gravitas of the reveals. The film also had a hard time creating space for the audience to breathe. Whether it was the literal never-ending motorboat of profanity and innuendo coming from Deadpool's saggy lips, the continuous pop-up cameos, the nonsensical multiversal discussions, or the flashing violent action scenes, my head was left spinning. This film does not stop moving, which isn't entirely a bad thing at all. The time goes by awfully fast, and it was a lot of fun to see the chaos unfold. The basic plot of the story follows Deadpool on a quest to find a suitable Wolverine to fill the void left in the universe by the sacrificial death showcased in the Logan movie. Wolverine is touted as an anchor being by the Time Variance Authority, and with his loss, the TVA is setting in motion the devastation of the main Deadpool's timeline because of such. In order to fill the void left by Logan's death, Deadpool is on the hunt for a Wolverine that is willing to take his place. Along the way, of course, havoc unleashes and Deadpool's goals do not go according to plan, which inevitably leaves him and a new Forsaken Wolverine to be trapped in the void for a long time throughout the film. Now, this is where the spoilers start to drop, so if that's not what you want to hear and see, I'd probably get the hell out of here. While trapped in the void, Deadpool and Wolverine bump into a multitude of familiar faces that have ended up in the void, which serves as a home for the toys that Disney does not want to play with anymore from the 20th Century Fox Playbox. A few of my favorites worth mentioning was Chris Evans' return as the Human Torch, playing a significantly more vulgar and witty Johnny Storm than ever before. We also see Jennifer Garner's Elektra return as a stoic, older version of her charismatic portrayal from the early 2000s. And as a reference to the canceled Gambit film from years ago, Channing Tatum debuts as the mutant whose accent is so thick that Deadpool pisses all over his inability to provide important exposition for the audience to understand his backstory. We also see X-23, as revealed in the trailers, who stars as a more jaded and matured Laura from the Logan film, who sees the Wolverine variant in an optimistic light that he is lacking in himself. The greatest cameo of the bunch, in my opinion, was seeing Wesley Snipes return as Blade, who drops one-liners that sent chills down the spines of the excitable audience at the premiere. This group, excluding Human Torch, assembled to take on the menacing bald twin of Charles Xavier, who stands in the way of their escape from the void. The baldy Cassandra Nova leads a team of misfit villains from the X-Men films and has seemingly endless power with a familiar weakness that Deadpool must exploit. I have to say, I'm not the biggest Deadpool guy. I don't really think Ryan Reynolds is all that funny, and maybe that's why I really didn't enjoy this film all that much. Because this was very much so Ryan Reynolds. He was at 500% in this film. He did not stop. Everything was a joke all the time. And it was exhausting. It was really exhausting. And his sarcastic nature, it got a little old for me. So Wolverine balancing that out helped a lot, because he just has this authentic, just genuine, heartwarming drive that Hugh Jackman just brings to every role he has. And in this film, he brings it just as well as he did in his older ones. This was definitely not nearly as good or heartwarming as Logan was, but it wasn't really supposed to be. However, Hugh Jackman, he was just phenomenal performance from him. and he helped slow the movie down. He broke up all these endless, nonstop, like messed up jokes that Deadpool was offering. He really slowed things down, which was very important, because as an audience, we need to breathe. We can't just keep taking in funny, because it's not really funny anymore if it just keeps happening. And of course, Hugh Jackman fed into it a little bit, and he fueled the fire. It goes both ways, and it was way more funny when Hugh Jackman was involved. But he was able to break up these like non-stop endless funny moments by saying like truly heartwarming stuff, talking about his past, talking about, you know, the many mistakes he's made in this universe. This is obviously a different Wolverine. This isn't the same one from the X-Men movies or Logan. This is a totally different one, and they make it very clear that that's the case in this film. Another thing was that this Wolverine was not trying to be something that he wasn't. He wasn't a laughingstock. They weren't making fun of him as in a way to degrade him, or to degrade him as a man, degrade him as a character. He was very much so Wolverine. I think this was the most Wolverine we've ever gotten. He was very like stronger than any Wolverine I think we've seen. He took so much punishment in this movie from Deadpool. Otherwise it was either audio, just listening to him blabber the whole time, or just like physically. I don't think we've ever seen Wolverine take a beating such as this. I remember in Wolverine when he fought the Japanese samurai in the second Wolverine film, and not the Silver Samurai, but the other one, and he got stabbed. I think he got like stabbed through the stomach or something. He took that blow, and it seemed like it did a little something to him at least. But in this, he just gets stabbed. It's crazy what happens to him, and he seems to be just fine. So this is definitely a hyper Wolverine. They did not try to demasculate him in any way. They very much so embraced his strength, and his strengths as a man, and his strengths as a great character. So that was a blessing to be seen. It wasn't a Thor thing where they try to make him a laughingstock, or try to make Hulk look really weak, or whatever else. Thankfully, that did not happen to Wolverine in this. They were very respectful with him. And he was not a bumbling idiot. He didn't have really stupid, funny dialogue where he's really trying to be funny. That was really good to see. So he was very much so on par with what we've seen with him in the past. And to continue, I think a big problem with this movie was I just don't care about these cameos anymore. I was watching it, and they reveal all these cameos. I didn't feel anything for it anymore. I think it's because I'm just so sick and tired of what Disney and Marvel has been dishing to us. It's just been terrible, and it never ends. It just ruins the original IP. It ruins the original properties that I grew up loving. And I might not have been super attached to some of the characters we got cameos of, but it should be really exciting, seeing these guys on screen, seeing Channing Tatum play Gambit, seeing Chris Evans as Human Torch, but it really just wasn't all that exciting for me. And I think Marvel just really soured my taste and my excitability for their projects because of what they've been doing. So that's a real shame. It didn't seem like many other people shared that in the theater with me at the premiere, but whatever. That's just me, I guess. And like I said, I don't know if I said this earlier, but about a fifth of the jokes were funny. I didn't find most of the jokes to be funny, but a fifth is still a lot because Deadpool does not stop making jokes in this. It was non-stop the whole movie, which was exhausting. But about a fifth of them were funny. Most of them just didn't land for me. A lot of it was really modern jokes, which borderlines brain rot in my opinion. And I found a lot of it to just be really cringy, and I was just uncomfortable watching it. So that was my experience, certainly. And the TVA sucks. I can't stand the TVA. I can't stand any time they try to tie in any of this Disney crap that we've gotten. I did not care about Loki. I didn't care about Loki Season 2. I thought Season 1 was pretty good. But I don't want to see anything with the TVA. I don't want to see any connections to any of these Disney Plus series because they're really just not any good. And we see a lot of connections to the TVA, of course. That's a very big, prominent feature in this film. And they serve as more so the villains of the film. There's a lot of different villains in this, and TVA is really one of the bigger ones. So they're causing a lot of trouble behind the scenes, and I just don't care. Every time we got scenes with them back at the TVA with the characters, I didn't care. I wanted to end. It took you out of the experience of being with Deadpool and Wolverine, which were the highlights of the film, obviously. It's their movie. movie, and without them, there's nothing to really. There wasn't much meat and substance in this movie. Otherwise, this film helped me to understand just how bloated Marvel is. It is so bloated. There's so much content that you have to watch to understand everything. And this film obviously covers stuff from the early 2000s, which was sweet to see. It was still cool to see that, although I wasn't as excited about it. But it just goes to show you just have to watch so much content, and it needs to be reset. It needs to be reset. There's just too much, and I really don't know how new people could get introduced, because it would just be exhausting watching all this content unfold, especially the Disney stuff that's come out in the last few years. All of this amounted to sensory overload. It was a little too much. There was non-stop action, non-stop jokes, non-stop quips, non-stop cameo reveals. I mean, it just kept coming over and over and over again. It was exhausting, and it just doesn't get exciting anymore seeing it over and over again. So you gotta be aware of that when you go in to see this. And another problem was they revealed too much in the trailers. They showed an awful lot in these trailers. The X-23 reveal, there was a lot of stuff in there, and I kept seeing it. And I always hope that they kind of get rid of some of the stuff, or they change it up in the movie, but it doesn't really just cover the beginning of the film. A lot of the trailer content is the whole movie, and it just keeps coming, and it just takes you out, and you're expecting it. So that was kind of annoying, seeing all that, and that they revealed too much in the trailers. One of my last points I want to talk about is that they make cracks at the multiverse and how weak it is. Although they continue to exploit it in this movie, the multiverse is a very big part of this, and by the end of the film, it just seems like the multiverse is even more encouraged. It doesn't seem like it's being diminished or reduced by any means, which I hope was going to be the conclusion of this movie, but it wasn't. So I don't know why they're making jabs about it, but they don't seem to be changing it. That was pretty weird. With all that being said, I give this movie a 7 out of 10. I had a lot of fun. It's a fun ride. Don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun watching this. I know you'll have a lot of fun. It's a fun movie, and it has an amazing introduction scene. I thought the best scene in the whole movie was the first 6 minutes, and then it falls off for about 30 minutes. Then it gets back on track. But the first 6 minutes is a lot of fun. So if you want to just go in for a fun ride, to see Hugh Jackman back, because he was amazing, and Ryan Reynolds was pretty funny, and he was okay as Deadpool, the main Deadpool, but don't get too excited about this being any kind of like really heartwarming trip like Logan, or that there's a more dense plot to follow, because this movie is a mess and it's all over the place, but a lot of the funny quips and whatever else distract you, and you don't really seem to notice unless you give it a lot of thought. So if you liked what I had to say, if you have some comments and some thoughts about the movie, please let me know in the comments below. I'd like to talk to you all about it and see what you guys thought. Obviously, I'm probably going to be in the minority here, not being the biggest fan of the movie, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.